The Mercedes-Benz GLS is a 3-row, full-size German luxury SUV that competes with vehicles like the BMW X7. It's nowhere near the price or opulence level of something like a Bentley Bentayga or a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. But when Mercedes decided to slap the Maybach badge on it, it became a totally different beast altogether. So in all my years of being an automotive journalist, this is actually the first time that I've been able to drive a Maybach product. I've always wanted to try one of these, dating back to when I was younger, way before I became an automotive journalist, and Maybach was still a standalone brand. So a little bit of history on Maybach. It started in the early 1900s as its own German luxury automaker. Mercedes bought the rights to it in 1960, and in 2002 is when Maybach was really launched as its own standalone brand to rival Rolls-Royce. As we know, Maybach didn't really work out. It didn't look spectacular enough to really be compared up against Rolls-Royce, even though the luxury features that they offered were easily up to par with Rolls-Royce. Fast forward to today, and now Maybach is part of this whole Mercedes sub-brand strategy that they have been going for. So you have the main Mercedes-Benz line, you have Mercedes-AMG, which everybody is familiar with, Mercedes EQ is its own thing for the electric vehicles, and then you have the Mercedes-Maybach models. So the Maybach GLS 600, this is the only Maybach version of the GLS. This is the pinnacle version of the Mercedes GLS, the 3-row, if you don't get the Maybach version of Mercedes full-size SUV. I guess you could say that the GLS 63, the AMG model, is almost on par with this, but this is a little bit more expensive, and as I'm going to show you in the video, it is a very different beast altogether. The main story behind this car is the airmatic suspension, so we have air suspension with something called e-active body control. I drove this a few years ago in a Mercedes GLE. They don't offer it on the GLE anymore, but this is tuned to absolute perfection. I'm about to go over a speed hump in my local park, and did I go over it? I could barely tell. I could barely tell. What this suspension does is it uses cameras and sensors to read the road in front of you, and it can actually kind of pre-prep the suspension so that it can automatically kind of waft over these bumps. Now, you don't really need to slow down for these speed humps, but you will sort of feel the car go over it, but not in this. I'm going over one again. Nothing. Did not feel that I went over anything. This is one of the best suspensions I have ever felt. It's right up there with the Audi S8 that also has a very complex suspension that can pick itself up and do sort of the similar things that e-active body control can do. And in terms of comfort, it is right up there with a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. In fact, I would almost go so far as to say that this is a little bit more sophisticated than the Roller, because the Rolls-Royce still kind of leans a bit in the corners. It's definitely not what you would call a sporty experience. Not that this is, but this can do something that the Rolls-Royce can't. So in addition to the self-leveling stuff that I just told you about, the e-active body control can use the 48-volt system from the engine to stop you from leaning in corners. I'm about to go through a very tight roundabout here in a very big, heavy car, and I'm really not getting a lot of suspension lean. That's incredible. It can kind of prime the outside shocks so it just doesn't feel like you're rolling, and that's just in comfort mode. This car also has something called curve mode, and curve mode even has 3 settings within that mode. And what that's going to do is it's going to prime the suspension to basically eliminate body roll altogether. So now let's go through that very same roundabout in curve mode a little bit too fast. Now this is where the e-active body control really just is amazing. Like I feel the gravity trying to pull me in that direction, but the car just isn't leaning. It's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. It's crazy how this suspension can keep the car flat and level at all times. It really is an engineering marvel. And then in addition to the curve mode, I also have Maybach mode. So on the little display here, we have individual, sport, comfort, and then we have Maybach mode, which is actually below comfort. It's more comfortable than comfort mode. You actually get a little C for comfort, but then with like a little diamond on the display to let you know when you were in Maybach mode. And obviously only Maybach models get this mode. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to start you in second gear rather than first, just eliminates a shift. And it really doesn't shift all that much when you're in Maybach mode because shifts are uncomfortable and might disturb the person that you're chauffeuring. So you'll kind of just be cruising along and you'll be in 8th gear and you'll go to put your foot down, and in comfort mode or especially sport mode, it would give you a downshift to give you acceleration. But in Maybach mode, it'll leave you in 8th gear and it'll say, no, we want to give you the most smooth power delivery to not disturb anybody in the vehicle. And it really does work. It tunes the suspension even a little bit more comfortable. It's focused on the back seat to give them the best ride. It'll even shut off the stop-start system, which is fantastic. I hate stop-start, to give you the most luxurious experience possible. And the engine is plenty powerful for a mode like this to work flawlessly. It is the family 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that's in a ton of Mercedes-Benz products, but unlike the AMG ones, here it is tuned to be as smooth as butter with 550 horsepower and 538 pound-feet of torque. As I mentioned when describing the suspension system, you also get a mild hybrid system that contributes 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60, if you were ever just trying to like get away from a kidnapper maybe, does 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, which is not slow by any stretch. But this is not the type of car that you're going to be driving spiritedly. This is the car that you hire a chauffeur to drive you around, or I mean, honestly, it's really not a bad experience if you are driving it. I would go so far as to say that because of this amazing suspension, I think it's maybe a little bit more exciting to drive than a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, but just as comfortable. Now, if you weren't already impressed during the driving segment, prepare to be blown away by the interior. Now, as I open the door, you're gonna see this huge running board deploy out from underneath the side skirt. This is the biggest running board I think I've ever seen on a stock vehicle. As you can see, the back end is a little bit bigger. That is because the Maybach emphasizes rear comfort, but we won't focus on that first. We're going to focus on the interior up front first. We've got a new diamond stitched pattern for 2024. All 2024 Mercedes GLS models are updated, not majorly updated, just a few tech upgrades. So I will kind of try to cover that here in this video. But on the Maybach, you're gonna get these beautiful diamond quilted leather seats. We kind of have the boring black, honestly. You can get like a maroon red and like a light cream interior that's, I think, a little bit more vibrant. That's honestly what I would do if I was going for this Maybach model. Now, of course, we've got leather everywhere. We've got our soft closed doors. We've got our Burmester audio system. Now, that is a huge system. It is 27 speakers, which is really cool. As you can see, we have a Maybach specific splash screen here on the gauges. And if I go ahead and start it up, we have a Maybach specific gauge. Now, I've driven an S-Class that had a very similar like white display to this that you could only get if you got like the Pinnacle trim. The Maybach is a little bit different, so you have the little Maybach logo here. You've got this rose gold finish on the dials. I think it's actually really pretty. If you don't like this, you can go ahead and switch it to the classic Mercedes gauges. You can switch it to the sport display, which is, I think, a little weird on a Maybach. I have chosen to leave them in Maybach mode because why would I want the gauges that I could get in a regular Mercedes-Benz? Now, speaking of these gauges, these are dual 12.3-inch displays that you get on every Mercedes GLS, I believe. And they have the updated MBUX infotainment system with new software. It's got all the good stuff you would want: wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You've got every single feature you could possibly want. You've got the amazing 360 cameras. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You can say, "Hey Mercedes," and tell me a joke. You can, voice command everything. It's a very good system, so I won't go into too much depth of that because we have a lot of other things to talk about here. We've got some very nice wood here, but again, you can pick different options. This is not the only available wood. Every surface is covered in leather, including these kind of handlebars here. We even have a little Maybach logo in wood on the little rest for our MBUX touchpad here. We've got nice big wood that we can slide back here to reveal our heated and cooled cup holders, something that you can get in a lot of Mercedes models. Not my favorite cup holders, to be honest. They don't really hold my big Yeti in place very well, but other than that, a really nice front seat, but that is really not the reason why you would buy a Maybach GLS. This is the real reason why you buy the Maybach GLS, is the back seat. So whereas a normal Mercedes GLS is a 3-row family vehicle, as you can see, the Maybach version is a 4-seat luxury limo. We've got this massive center console here in place of a 3rd seat. Now you can, for no cost, opt to delete this and you can make it a regular bench. You still get some nice features. I believe you still get this little tablet here in the middle, and you still get some nice features in that armrest, but you can make this a 5-seater if you want. Honestly, if you're spending this amount of money, I think you might as well go for the 4-seater. It is simply gorgeous. We even have these little pillows that match our leather. On the back, they say Maybach in nice print. I do have this one upside down, but it does say Maybach. I'm gonna go ahead and toss it over there so I can go ahead and sit down a little bit more comfortably though. As you can see, we just have a huge amount of leg room back here. We've got tons of adjustments here. I can go ahead and push a little button and it's going to slide that front seat up as far as it will go. And now I can recline my seat and I can get super comfy here. Oh yes, I've got a nice footrest that I can go ahead and put up. Now the one on this side isn't going up all of the way. I'm not sure if it's just broken or I have a setting wrong or something like that, but this can come all the way up, so you can go ahead and put your feet up here. For the purpose of the video and my test car, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it down right now, but you can see how comfortable that you can get in here. It is absolutely astonishing. Everything I've just showed you is standard on the Mercedes-Maybach. You get heated and cooled seats back here that are also massaging. You get all of this power adjustment, but here is something that is actually optional on ours. For an additional $1,800, you get these beautiful tray tables that fold out in such a cool way. They snap into place. They just make such a nice noise. And then you go ahead and fold this out, and now you have this beautiful, nice workstation. And you can go ahead and close that. And now I could have my laptop out. I could enjoy a nice beverage. This is so cool for $1,800. I don't know why this isn't just standard, but with it, you also get this back here. You also get these champagne flutes. So you have this nice red lined area. It is absolutely gorgeous with this nice sort of like velvet finish. Now, unfortunately, the beautiful silver champagne flutes that are supposed to be included with this car were nowhere to be found. Maybe they were afraid that journalists would steal them. So, I just got these from the dollar store. They're basically the same, right? Let's see if they fit. Yeah, no, they're a little bit the wrong size, but if I did have a nice drink back here, I could put my bottle of champagne in the refrigerator. So I do have a nice refrigerator here behind me. So as you can see, just pretty amazing features here on this GLS, and we are still not done with the features yet. Here on this center console, we've got a nice wireless charger right here that's right front and prominent, so you can put your phone there and still access it while it's charging. You do have some USB-Cs on both sides, 4 total back here, so you could charge a ton of devices. We can slide this little armrest forward. We get another set of heated and cooled cup holders, which is really nice. This is like a full-size one. This is like a smaller one for maybe a little bottle of champagne. And then your champagne flutes, if you do get them, kind of clip in here. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the silver champagne flutes, and my crappy dollar store knockoff doesn't really fit in there properly. Now, we also have this little touchscreen tablet. I've seen these in Mercedes before. You can actually get this on the AMG, and I believe some, even non-AMGs, I believe, can have this as well. But it basically lets you control all of the functions of the car. So here's where you can control all of your massage seats. You can actually control the ambient lighting as well. So you can see we've got some ambient lighting there. I can go ahead and change the color if we want, say, a nice green. They've got all these different colors. You've got monochrome options, so you can literally like tune it to any color of the spectrum, or they have some really nice multicolor options. We also have our sunshades here, so you see it kind of slides up here. We have another one back here, because when you are leaned and you do have this nice pillowy headrest, this is the window that you're really looking out of with your head. So this one gets a sunshade as well. I can go ahead and open up the main panoramic roof using this little button on the controls. So you don't have to use the touchscreen. The touchscreen is really nice. It is ejectable as well. You push this little button and it'll kind of pop it out, and now you can control the screen from wherever, but you don't have to use it for everything. There are some nice physical controls, so you can really open this all up if you want and get a ton of light in here, or you can have yourself kind of cocooned in darkness. This is one of the best back seats I have ever been in. Honestly, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan has some really nice features in the back. It does have tray tables that fold out of the side. It does have massage, but I think the massage is better here. I think the legroom is honestly better, and I think the tech features are definitely better. Now, as you can kind of see from the 4-seat layout in a vehicle this big, you know that the Maybach GLS isn't really going for practicality the way that a standard GLS was. And nowhere is that more apparent than back here in the trunk. So these seats do not fold down. I really wouldn't expect them to with how luxurious they are. And as you can see, that big old refrigerator takes up a whole lot of space here in this trunk. You get just under 18.5 cubic feet of space, and I'm not really sure if that is counting the refrigerator or not. Like, if you can get it without the refrigerator, there is a little bit more space in here, but this is way smaller than a standard GLS. You're not really getting much under the floor either. You can raise and lower the air suspension to load and unload this, and you do get this beautiful, nice leather cover here with the Maybach logo that is really nice. You even get some speakers here with this nice wood trim. It is absolutely gorgeous, but in terms of practicality, they basically ruined the GLS here. So just something to consider. You can't really fold the seats and do a Home Depot run in the Maybach GLS. If that is your goal, you might be better off with the AMG one or a regular GLS, or something like the BMW Alpina XB7. Now, I already talked to you at length about this car's amazing e-active body control suspension, but there is one more feature that I absolutely have to show you. I call it bounce mode. So to activate this mode, what we're gonna have to do is put the Maybach GLS into its off-road mode. I have to click activate drive program to put it into its off-road mode. That's right, this 4-seat luxury limo actually has an off-road mode, and I really think the main reason why it does is because of the Dubai market. They have lots of sand there that somebody might take this car into, but it's kind of pointless here in America, but I'm gonna show you why it's actually really hilarious. So putting it into off-road mode is already going to lift the air suspension about as high as it will go, but that is not the coolest feature. So now if I click on the off-road menu here on the MBUX display, I can have this little screen that says assistance. Now there are two really cool things that you can do here. You can individually control each of the wheels. So if I click individual wheel control, now I have my front left, front right, rear left, rear right wheels, and I can lift them up using I can lift them up and down like a donk. It is absolutely crazy. I can go ahead and lift one up, I can lift one down. You can really just like control each individual wheel and make this car do some hilarious things. And it works really, really fast thanks to that 48 volt mild hybrid system. Okay, let me go ahead and leave everything level now. Isn't that hilariously cool? But that's not the coolest feature. We have something called recovery mode. Let's just say, for example, you are visiting Dubai, you're driving your Maybach GLS out in the desert and you get stuck in some sand. Now, you could shovel yourself out, but that sounds like a pain. This car can actually bounce up and down to get you out of the sand. So if I click on recovery mode and I click start, it will start bouncing the vehicle up and down. Watch this. That is right. The whole car is bouncing. And yes, you can drive up to 15 miles an hour while doing this. Just imagine arriving to Cars and Coffee like this. Last but certainly not least, let's check out the stylistic changes that they've made on the Maybach GLS here to help it stand out from a normal one. So we do have a very Maybach specific grille with all of these vertical chrome slats. Chrome is going to be the theme here on the Maybach models, although I believe they do have like a night edition now where you can get this all kind of darkened out. I kind of think the chrome is kind of integral to the whole Maybach thing, and I personally think that it does fit the aspect of the brand, but to each their own. We do have the Mercedes emblem here, the hood ornament that you don't get on a lot of Mercedes-Benz models in modern times now. Most of them do not have that anymore. We also have the Maybach pattern here. This is kind of like the Gucci bag of car styling. You can have your Maybach logos here on these little intakes. This one is actually filled in, but this one actually is functional and feeds air into the engine. It's kind of interesting how one is functional and the other isn't. We've got the optional wheels here. Now, 22-inch wheels are what comes standard on the Maybach GLS, but this one has the optional 23-inch forged chrome polished wheel. It's an absolutely gorgeous wheel and it really shines like a piece of jewelry on this car. But as you can see, when it rains, it can get really dirty really quickly. So this is, if you're the type of person that loves polishing your wheel or paying somebody to polish your wheel every week, you'll love how these look when they're clean. They're absolutely gorgeous. We've got a lot more chrome here down the side. We've got kind of chrome on the B pillar there. We've got more chrome underneath the car as well. Here at the back, we've got our Maybach logos on our D pillar here, which is kind of cool as well. And then here at the back, we've got just a few touches, not anything too crazy here. We've got our Maybach logo here on the side, letting us know that we have a GLS 600, which is the only Maybach version of the GLS that is available right now. Time to wrap up with pricing of our 2023 Maybach GLS 600. This is not a cheap car by any stretch of the imagination. It starts at $170,000 even. I believe that's about $10,000 more expensive than when this car first came out in 2021. So we're just seeing car prices rise across the board. Now, with all of the options that you see on this one, it's about 185 grand. You know, there really aren't that many options that you can add to the Maybach GLS. The key one being those folding tables for $1,800 and these magnificent wheels for $5,500. You might as well go for both at this point, honestly. But it might sound a little bit crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Maybach GLS is actually a bargain. It's less than half the price of a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and it really doesn't feel any less luxurious than a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Now, I'm honest here. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan is going to turn way more heads than this Maybach GLS. If you don't know what you're looking at here, this could just be a regular Mercedes. The wheels are really nice, the Maybach logos and the grille are really cool, but I think people that don't know cars will just let this go under the radar. Now, that might be what you want, which is really good in that case. Then you might want this over something like a Rolls-Royce Cullinan or a Bentley Bentayga. But if you want everybody to kind of go, wow, you've arrived, then get one of those. Get the Bentley or get the Rolls-Royce. But honestly, with that bounce mode, you might actually get more attention if you pull into a Cars and Coffee or up to a valet bouncing up and down. You actually might get a little bit more looks in this. And this is just so much cheaper than that Rolls-Royce. It's cheaper than a Bentley Bentayga. It's cheaper than an Aston Martin DBX, and the luxury is absolutely sublime. So I do think it is kind of a value. I think it is a very overlooked model. I don't really see a lot of these driving around, but honestly, in my opinion, I think Mercedes should sell a lot more of these. It is a wonderful, wonderful luxury car. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2023 Maybach GLS 600. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.